to go oh my gosh, this is so bad. This is a bad wrap up, Kristen. Hello everybody, it's Kristen here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my May. Yes, it's the month of May. I'm going to be doing my May wrap up. In the month of May, I read 6 books. It was a good month. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't, I had a lot of 3-star reads, but I did end up reading a lot. So it's kind of, I'm saying it was a good month. I listened to 1 audiobook and then I had 5 books. So I'm just going to get right into this. The first book I read in the month of May was The Unexpected Everything by Matson. This is a young adult contemporary read. I believe I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This was a really sweet read. It was nice to read a contemporary in the springtime. This book follows our main character, Andy. Yes. So we follow our main character, Andy, and she has summer plans. Those plans get messed up, and then some kind of scandal happens with her father. Her father's in politics, so her summer is not off to a great start. This book follows as she discovers an ad, and she doesn't know what the ad is for, so she calls that person up and she realizes it's for dog walking. So our story basically follows Andy throughout the summer as she navigates all of that, and so friends and love and just having a good summer. The plotline didn't really do it for me. It was a really enjoyable read, but I kind of felt like it was this the whole time with, like, you know, little exciting things, no big dramas. Kind of one of the bigger dramas I saw coming, and so that I didn't feel like it was as good. So I rated this 3.5 out of 5 stars, but it was a good read. I would recommend this if you want to pick up a good young adult contemporary, especially in the spring and summer. You can pick it up any time of the year if you want. But this, because it's set in the summer, it does suit the summertime. The next book I read in the month of May, if I can pull it out, was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. This is book 1 in the Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children series. So I buddy read this book with Rita from Rita Book, and actually someone who I became friends with on Goodreads, and she joined in on it. It was really fun to do a buddy read and share my thoughts with everyone. I did create a Goodreads group for buddy reads for me. I called it Kristen's Library Buddy Reads. I'm going to put that in the description box below so you can go check that out and join it, because then we can do an impromptu buddy read, or we can plan one in advance and do it. But anyways, I gave this book, I think, 3.5 out of 5 stars, maybe. This was a good book. This is a young adult, kind of dark fantasy in a way. This book follows our main character, Jacob, and he has, the beginning of the book begins with him and his grandfather. His grandfather tells him stories of when he was younger and he lived with peculiar children. And as the years go on, Jacob just believes his grandfather is just making these things up. But through a series of events, he gets thrown into this world of peculiar children and kind of the adventures and the scary stuff. This book had some scary moments. I was like, what? I rated this 3.5 stars because I felt like this fell short just a little bit. I did enjoy the storyline and following Jacob and all of the characters, all the peculiars and their powers was really interesting. But the storyline just, I felt like it was a big idea, but it was done too small, if that makes sense. I don't know if a bigger book would have made a difference. Maybe more detail would have made a difference. I just found like there was really good ideas, but it felt like a big idea for a small book. This was a good book. I enjoyed it. I will not continue on with the series at this point. I was interested in the series, and you know, I would like to know what happens, but I don't think I'll continue on just because there's so many books I want to read. Then the next book I read, which I did audiobook, so it kind of spread through half the month, and that was Illuminae by Amie, Kaufman, and Kristoff. I always feel like I'm going to switch first and last names on that. I rated this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. This book was the biggest shock for me for my rating. I thought I was going to rate it higher because a lot of people loved it. Now, before I get into everything, I do want to mention I listened to the audiobook and I feel like that may have tainted me. So maybe in the future I will reread Illuminae and I'll read it. This book follows two main characters. I forget their names. I'll write it on the screen. At the beginning of the book, by the way, this is a sci-fi, kind of sci-fi dystopia maybe? I have to say that first, Kristen. In the beginning of the book, there is an attack on, I don't even know what to call it, like this colony maybe. And basically these two main characters escape and then they get onto a spaceship as refugees. The story continues on with, simply put, the drama that's happening between all the ships. It is very action-packed. The main characters are really well described and you feel like you know them. The plot twist in the book was really good. I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed the characters. I thought they, you know, they came to life. I really felt like I knew them. And the setting of the book, so you're on the spaceships, was really, really cool. I enjoyed the sci-fi aspect. The other thing I really, really liked is there is kind of a disease on one of the ships, and how that kind of played into the story and the action that brought, I thought was really, really good. The reason why my rating was lower than I expected was mostly because the book was long, and this is where I feel like I can blame it on the audiobook, because I felt like it was going on really long. At some points I was just like, bring me some action. What's gonna happen next? But I felt like that was the biggest thing for me. So yes, that was the next book I read / listened to. The next book I read was World War Z by Max Brooks. This is an oral history of the zombie war. Basically, this is a fictional story of if there was a zombie war. This book is laid out in an interview format. So basically, this book is just full of a whole bunch of people that are being interviewed. So there's not really chapters, it's just kind of interviews. Now, I really, really liked that. I liked how creative that was. That was also my biggest issue with this book. Forgot to say what I rated it. I think I rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars, I think. A lot of 3.5s. It wasn't a 3 and it wasn't a 4. I really loved the interviews, but I also didn't like them. I felt like you had no characters that you could really connect with and follow through the story. You kind of got attached to a character and then you just moved on to someone else. So that was kind of frustrating for me. But you do have the steady theme of the war. From the first outbreak through everything that happens in the world to basically humanity trying to recover from this war. So that was a common thread, but to me, it wasn't strong enough to be that consistent, you know, plot through the book. It was one thrill of a read. You have lots of zombies chasing and action-packed guns shooting stuff. So if you are not a fan of gory action, I wouldn't suggest this book, but if you want to read, you know, an entertaining zombie book, this was really good. I would suggest this. The next book I read in the month of May was Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. This is a nonfiction book about introverts. I participated in what's called the A to Z Readathon. I will put my, what is it? Is it here? Is it gonna be here or here? 50-50 chance. I'll put a link to my A to Z Readathon TBR, which, by the way, I did accomplish all of the letters of the alphabet through the titles and the authors' names. Yes! This book I basically picked up because of the letter Q, but I'm really glad I picked it up. This book basically explains kind of why introverts are the way they are and how they work in the world. I found this a very sciencey book. You were understanding brain chemistry and IQ and EQ, which I don't know if you know, EQ is emotional intelligence. So there was a lot of that going on. So in a way, it was like a science book, which I really, really like. So I did enjoy this book a lot. I rated this. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. This is so bad. This is a bad wrap up, Kristen. The one thing that I found maybe didn't make it like a 5-star read was that there was a lot of talk about extroverts. Now I understand you need to understand, you know, the opposite. I understand that we need to know what extroverts are like, you know, what makes their wheels turn. Phone ran out of space, so I just deleted an app because I don't have time to put this on my computer and then just continue on. So, gotta hurry it up here, Kristen. This is not the right angle. Ugh, filming problems. Okay, so trying to remember where I was. So this book talked a lot about extroverts for the first third of the book, which I know is important to understand, but at the same time I was like, I don't want to know about extroverts, I want to know about introverts. This was a good book. I found it very interesting. If you are thinking of reading this book, I would highly suggest it. It was really good, very informative. I read a big chunk of this in a random readathon that I participated in. And to be honest, I wish I wouldn't have read this one, because I feel like with these books, you need to read it a little bit slower and process what you're reading. I would suggest reading a little bit slower or read it on the side of another book, but maybe that's just me. If you want to go 100% into this, I think you will really enjoy it. The last book that I read in the month of May, which I'm kind of currently reading, is Longbourn by Jo Baker. I have like a 10th left of the book, really. This is the servant's side of the story of Pride and Prejudice. So if you know Downton Abbey, basically it's kind of like that. You are in the downstairs of the house in a way. I really enjoyed Sarah's story. Basically you kind of, it's a love story, basically, a historical fiction love story. You're following the main character Sarah and the other, well, I guess I can't say that. I'll give it away. Haha. So I really liked following Sarah's story as she was a servant, and I really liked how there was the parallel of the Bennets from Pride and Prejudice. It was really entertaining to follow that story, but from a different angle. The thing I didn't like is the book progressively got a little bit more risky in some of its stories and stuff, which made it very impactful, but at the same time I felt like that didn't honor Pride and Prejudice. This is one hodgepodge of a wrap-up. I apologize. I just finished Longbourn, and I put my review up on Goodreads. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I like that it was a parallel story to Pride and Prejudice. I thought that was a really creative idea. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. So I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars, but that's basically it. Okay, that's my PJs in the back. I'm just making, this is messy in here. If you have read any of the books I read in the month of May, comment down below. Let's have a conversation about it. If you have any questions about what I read or what I thought, comment down below and I can hopefully answer those questions for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!